Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's ServiceNow Express video blog post on the concept of knowledge management in Geneva. Geneva comes with it a number of functionality upgrades, including multiple knowledge bases, the ability to build as many layers and depths of categories as you'd like to, granular user criteria for access controls, the ability to import Word documents, and more. Let's take a look at how we can configure knowledge to maximize the use and functionality. As we begin, let's first start with the concept at a high level. When we come in, we can see multiple knowledge bases that could be created for each different department in your business. HR, facility, security, marketing, legal, any number of different services can put information benefit to users therein. The first thing we'll notice, however, as well, is we actually have the option to import. So we can import a Word document right into one of our knowledge bases. So here, for example, I'm going to select this Word document import. It actually contains and has images, styling in HTML, like bolding and bullet points. I'll say, for example, I want to throw in the IT knowledge base in the category for, let's say, devices Apple. I'm going to publish it. Now, when I go ahead and I do that import, and that import renders as complete, you'll notice that not only does it take over the text, but this is an important thing, images will also be embedded. So the image content is important because getting images in with the traditional XLS import, which can still be done by simply coming over to your knowledge base, looking and finding those lists of knowledge records, right-clicking and doing a import. So you can always import via XLS into that field, but do be aware then it doesn't support that image content when you import into that text field. Heading back though to our high-level conversation, we have those multiple knowledge bases. As we click in, we'll see a number of different categories, including any levels of subcategories. The search will be dynamic, and now you have the option actually to create questions on top of just articles. So the questions has a Yahoo style question and answer to it, where we can ask ourselves new questions, post it, choose exactly where is it going to go, if it has a tag, and so on. Other users can apply comments. We'll be able to validate that as the correct answer or not, and so on. So on top of these comments, answers can be marked as being correct by being accepted. Peers can upvote them, downvote them, and so on. Great way to crowdsource your knowledge. One of the things that I'm pointing out while it's showing this at a high level is the fact that it's now controllable. Let's start the conversation at that high level knowledge base record. Before we saw we had one for knowledge, one for IT, and talk about how much more granular controls you have over your knowledge base. To begin, we're going to see that we can offer the ability to disable comments on an entire knowledge base, disable suggestions, disable category editing for this knowledge base. We also have the ability to enable things like social question and answer, that Yahoo style functionality. We have the ability also, we'll see this in a second, to choose for knowledge articles that are created in this knowledge base. Do we want there to be an approval workflow, so like a review step, prior to it being published? Now, who it takes for the approval is going to be based off the owner and any managers, so set this to whoever you want doing that approval. If you don't want an approval, just switch the flow over to instant. But we'll leave the approval in place for this example. The icon will reflect the icon that articles will have within that knowledge base. Now, as I scroll down as well, we can see a number of related lists already on this knowledge base. If you don't have them, I suggest adding them. It includes just a knowledge-related list, shows us all knowledge articles where the knowledge base is this current one, IT. We can see questions, basically social Q&A questions that have been asked. And importantly, this is the new piece. You'll see these sections for areas like can read, can contribute. Now this ties into what we're going to see as user criteria. you're going to be able to pick a subset of users, give that subset a name, and then say, hey, this subset of users can have read access, see it. This one can have write access to make articles. And then you can also pick, at that high level knowledge base, what's the featured content going to be? Great way to get that content in there. Now, more granularly than this knowledge base just at a high level, you can actually navigate to System Administration homepage, go down to knowledge base, and find a properties section. From these properties, you'll be able to choose if you want to show the tasks that have been added, show the article rating, show 5-star, show flag article, was this helpful, create incident link. And you can choose if you want to show the comments when the article loads, when you click to show comments, hide comments completely. And then you choose for the knowledge search results, should it be based off views, relevancy, or last modified. Great settings to get that knowledge base right in line with what you're looking for. Touching on that point we made though, knowledge bases and the articles, they now have this criteria, user criteria. User criteria is a great way to dynamically get subset of users without just relying on roles. So let me show you an example. For Acme North American HR Department as one. As I click into that user criteria record, I can pick either manually what users fall under this criteria, the groups, the roles, and then fields such as companies, locations, departments, and then I pick if it should match all, so the person has to match all this criteria, such as in the HR department, part of Acme North America, the two in this case, or I could toggle it off and any of the criteria can match. Now, this is a great way this will be applied to that knowledge base as well as we'll see here, these knowledge articles. And we'll show how and where in just a second. As we begin creating a new knowledge article, we'll notice that you now have the area to pick what knowledge base is this article falling under. So let's say I want to create it in the IT knowledge base. Then in my category selection, it's a new UI for making new categories. You simply need to press the plus button. At that level, you want to make a new category. So let's say this is the new category. And then as we run through, we can click into that new category, be brought to the next section, press plus, and do a new subcategory. As many subcategories here as we'd like to. Just keep pressing the plus button. From each subcategory, we can continue down once more. New subcategory. So you have quite a number of additional range and flexibility in terms of the level of depth and how nested your knowledge base is going to be. After we have that category that we created, we're going to go ahead and define fields such as when should it be published, when should it appear, when's it valid to, when should it disappear. Importantly, you can choose if this should be HTML type content or if it should be wiki type content. So let's do an example article. I'm going to call it my example article. And I'm going to go ahead, put some text in. Keep in mind, since it's an HTML field, you can very well do some nice styling options, apply some coloring, use some custom fonts that you think is better, and so on. Or rather than typing in the HTML, you can actually click and paste in all that source code from a different system or from an existing HTML source you have. So after that content is in there, keep in mind as well, we support hyperlink content. And hyperlink content is important because you can link to other knowledge records, even other knowledge bases. At the end of the day, all those records in ServiceNow are based off a specific URL since it's cloud-based. And we'll see that in a second as well. This even includes the ability to put in URLs for published reports you may have. Easy way for users to maybe see an article about reports and click and access reports live time. Now we have a few more settings though that is important to cover. The two being one attachment link and one display attachments. Let's pretend I took a Word document and I dragged it and I dropped it or used a paper clip to get it right onto this article here. Now that's an attachment. When I go ahead and press display attachments, it's going to go ahead and show that attachment on the article. So let's take a quick look by publishing this knowledge article so that we can actually view it. Here you'll notice the view is just the text and nothing else. However, when I go to display attachments, we'll notice that I come back to the article and we'll see the attachment as an attachment physically on here. So this is great if you want to show that actual attachment content as something that should be added. And keep in mind, all your text-based files will be indexed. So if there's a keyword in that actual Word document, it'll be returned as part of the search. As I head back, there's another item, which is attachment link. Now, attachment link is unique in that it'll actually download that file when a user goes to click to view that specific article. First, to get this in the knowledge base to view though without this sample test, we're going to need to publish it. And to publish it, keep in mind for if it's in our IT knowledge base, we had the approval activated. So when I press publish, it goes to the review stage. This reviewed article, basically this example article I made here, it's going to have an approval sent over to the owner and any knowledge managers for that knowledge base. So let's pretend that Bernard very well does do the approval. We're going to go and select approved forum. Then what's going to happen is this knowledge article will be published. And when you come into this actual category here, so let's go into our knowledge base for the new subcategory of IT. So IT, then we want our subcategory, our subcategory, so on where we built it. And you'll notice there's that example article. But when I go to click the example article, instead of taking me to a record like a knowledge base piece of content, it just does the immediate local download. So that's what the attachment link option will do. Heading back over now to my published content here, this example article, let's touch on a few other items, such as the fact that you can specify a source if you want to, for maybe this came from an incident. It will be auto-populated if that knowledge check mark is checked. Additionally, let's talk about the power of related lists. There's a few I suggest adding onto this knowledge record. Go to Configure, right-click on the header there, Related Lists, and add related lists for knowledge use article. Let's go ahead and also, we'll keep that as the only one per save. And this will help us see right on this article who actually is allowed to. What this shows us is all the records of use in terms of views or in terms of someone actually using it instead of submitting an incident. So that concept of incident deflection, that's seen in our knowledge base now when we come in and we talk about self-service. The self-service catalog in create incident of get help has been pre-configured now to include this what we call contextual search. So as I search something like email, the knowledge base gets searched and brings back relevant email results. If you want to use this for your own knowledge base, or better said for your own record producers, that knowledge base search, simply go into record producers, find the create incident record producer, press the copy button, and then create whatever record producer you'd like. Realizing that this field here, the short description one, is the one that's going to be keyed off of for that contextual search. Heading back into our knowledge base, there's a few other key pieces that we're going to understand. The first being the data that we pull back. Now, as users have interactions, be it star ratings or comments, we're going to get these knowledge feedback records, basically. Ratings, also knowledge feedback records. But what we also have is a search log, and a search log is very important because it helps you optimize what content you should be producing. You can see the search terms your users made and the results they returned. If there's a very common search term with very low results, that tells you as a knowledge manager you should prioritize creating content for that specific keyword. Now, on top of all this, we of course can report on any of that data. So the underlying tables, the knowledge feedback table, the knowledge use table, and so on, you'll find these out-of-box reports surrounding them. You can go in, click with the pencil, for example, and edit it if you wanted to, change around how it's actually being used. You'll notice that clicking it in from the dashboard lets you see that KB use table. So the other piece of that knowledge-based use and why it's important to highlight is that keep in mind it'll show with those related records, the knowledge-based use records. And there isn't a default module for it out of box. So if you wanted to create yourself a module for that knowledge-based use, it's this simple. Just come into your basic setup, go in and find applications, find the administration application under the module for knowledge. So here I'm going to click into knowledge. I'll see there's administration, and I'm going to stick right after it, let's say 1050, a brand new entry. And we're going to make it our knowledge use records. So let's call it knowledge use. Order is going to be 1050, and the link type is going to be a URL from arguments pointing, and type in /kb_use_list.do. And what this will provide is over to the left, you'll now have a knowledge use module that'll actually show you in a very easy list view all the uses in terms of views and who viewed it, when. So it's just an easy way to get right to those records and that data. Now coming back into that knowledge record we created, there's a lot more functionality pieces, such as the ability to tag. If we click into those three dots and go to add a tag, tags is another great search mechanism from the knowledge base. So I'll just go and tag this as example. And what we'll notice is from here, I will also highlight that you can go ahead and you could edit if that tag should be viewable by a set number of users. And you'll actually be able to search by tags alongside categories. So here I could see there's my example tag right on that example article. So the next area and item that we're going to cover is some of those extra fields that we can add to our knowledge records as we create them. So I'm going to click into my Word document that got created, for example, talk about some of the extra fields we can add. So we start by right-clicking, configuring, going into our form design, and from there we're going to find a number of key fields that we should probably add. Those include disable commenting, disable suggesting. We're going to go ahead and pick meta. We're going to add a few extra ones as well, such as view count might be a nice one to view right down there at the bottom, as well as use count. Another one that's also very popular to add is the author, who actually wrote this article. And you could choose if you want to pick any of these other fields as well, such as is it retired, was it given, what rating was it given. So as we can see, I have those number of additional fields here. So the meta field is a great way to get search keywords in there that may not appear in the attachment or in the actual document. So here, for example, the word ServiceNow is nowhere to be found. However, I could put ServiceNow in that meta content, and then any user searching ServiceNow in the knowledge base will still be able to bring this up as a relevant content block. You'll notice I also have the ability to start toggling things like disable commenting or for it to be suggested, and then I can go ahead, save those changes, and when we go to view it in our actual knowledge base, you'll notice that content block for commenting is no longer there. If it was enabled at the knowledge level and at this record level, it would be there. I'll also highlight what I mentioned earlier is the ability to copy the links to different knowledge articles. Great way to get you a thread, maybe a part 1, part 2, part 3, link through a journey of knowledge articles. Now I'm going to go back in, I'm going to continue editing this document, a few more pieces I like to mention, and that includes this rating field. The rating will actually show you the average rating that users have given. This is part of the knowledge feedback. So I'm going to go in back, view this article, System Administrator. Let's say I give it a 4-star view. Now I'm going to come into the platform and now impersonate Able Tutor. Now Able is actually a user who's been given the Knowledge Manager role as well. So this is a unique role. It's not considered ITIL, so to speak, in that the user doesn't work incident problem change, but the user is in platform working knowledge records. So here you could see they have access to that full knowledge application, as well as the standard end user knowledge section in terms of the community of asking questions in the knowledge base, seeing what those knowledge articles may be that they were the author for, what the open questions are, be able to answer them or ask their own. It's important to note that although the Knowledge Manager can create new knowledge content, as well as come in and read over these records and see the data, when they come in and they see someone else's form, it'll be read-only unless you give them access or give them that ITIL role alongside that Knowledge Manager role. So we can come back in, impersonate the System Administrator, and as the System Administrator, we can go into Manage Table, find that knowledge table. So I'm going to go ahead and find knowledge. And although the Knowledge Manager already has delete access, you can also give that Knowledge Manager write access if you wanted them editing that content being produced as well. And another key item is regarding adding image attachments embedded as well as video. So image attachments are quite simple. We can click to insert or edit a video, image in this case. We can click to insert or edit an image. So let's go, we could do this picker here, allow me to pick from any image, or I could press new, upload my own image. In this case, I'm not going to go ahead and do that though. I'm just going to press this new button. It's going to give me a file name selector. Let's say I've got this picture of my CMDB. I'm going to press upload. It's going to upload it into image table for me, DB images. And from here I do have some advanced options in terms of layout, alignment, where it's going to be. I could choose if there's a border, what the spacing is horizontally, vertically between this and other content, and then the actual sizing of the image itself. So after I press OK, you'll notice it'll be embedded right there within the actual content. So this advantage of that approach for the concept of images is in the case that you do have an attachment and you press enable attachments, so you say display attachments, you wouldn't want all those pictures showing. So the alternative method, instead of going ahead and adding that image as a inline new image record, is saying it's an attachment. So I could do this again, insert image. I could say this time though it's an attachment, pick any other image again, go ahead and press attach, and what you'll notice is the difference is, yes, it's still embedded, but now it's an attachment as well. So again, makes a difference when you display attachments. Now with videos, I'll say the best way to do videos is host that video on some type of free external hosting platform. Could be YouTube, you could use a private URL so no one else could see it, but it's the simplest way. And what we'll do is we'll simply press our little insert edit video, we'll go to URL, we'll paste in that URL, whatever it may be, and then we'll press OK and it'll be embedded. Now this embedding of video, keep in mind video technically it'll run with that browser functionality. So now we have embedded picture and embedded video right here in our knowledge article. Just like that, as we've walked through the creation of multiple different options for our knowledge record here, we can go and we say, hey, it's time to retire. Now keep in mind, this knowledge base, we said it's going to have an approval for retirement. And here you can now see that there's my example article and it is pending retirement. So my pending retirement article there has, once again, the required approvals for the successful retirement per our workflow designation. Now keep in mind, this state pending retirement, by default, it won't show up here. We have unpublished. This is already technically published, so when we click into published, you'll notice that that example article, although published, is no longer here because technically it's past that stage. It's pending retirement. So to find that, just go to all, and you'll notice the workflow, the current stage, pending retirement. So to make it easier to see what those unpublished pending retirement items are, I advise, let's just edit this unpublished section here, and let's add in another or condition for or, not only draft or review, but also pending retirement. So again, to make those changes to simply basic setup, go into your applications, find yourself knowledge, and from knowledge, we're just simply going to decide to pick that one for unpublished, add another or statement, where we're going to say workflows draft, workflows review, or workflow is pending retirement. So just like that, we've walked through how to optimize and understand the settings behind creating yourself a new knowledge category, article, as well as content therein. Now, as a final takeaway, keep in mind on that knowledge base, we can go ahead and make a new one very, very easily out of box. You'll also find that the self-service portal comes with the ability now for users under Get Help to request a knowledge base. So I could say, I want a HR knowledge base, for example. So reason is I need info. We can go ahead and submit that. And basically, this request for a new knowledge base is going to go ahead and it's going to be found over into the open requests. So this one is going to be pending approval for that new knowledge base. And you'll notice that at the top here, it'll tell you request new knowledge base HR. That's the information, approval sysadmin. Okay, let's say I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, yes, this is approved. And you'll notice that it automatically then gives the person who requested that new knowledge base the knowledge manager role, first of all. And secondly, what you'll actually notice is when I go ahead and I take a look at my actual knowledge base section, so we come into knowledge bases, you'll actually see in the knowledge bases, if you toggle off that active is true, there now is a new HR knowledge base with that user who requested it, the system administrator, as the owner. Great easy way to ingest requests and for new knowledge bases. Now, once that knowledge base is very well set to active, what we'll notice is my new knowledge base. Let's go ahead and create this very quickly. Let's give it its own icon. Keep in mind the icon is going to be next to the content in that type. So let's say in my case, I'm going to take a HR icon. I'm just going to make it this little folder picture here. So I got my little folder icon, HR, and I said, yes, it is active. Now keep in mind, I pick who can read, who has read access to my knowledge base. And this is based off of those user criteria groups we've defined. So I could throw in, a few different options. Of course, after I go ahead and I save that, then it's going to allow that. And then I could offer contribution, who to write, make articles. So with that contribution, after I go in and I view the knowledge base, you'll see that I can come up right at the top here and create a new article. So just like that, I'll say I'm contributing. I'll go ahead and I'll press submit. And since we did not put in and we did not enable any categories yet, you'll also notice it doesn't show up. So make sure always define those categories. A fresh knowledge base has no categories. So we could say this is benefits, and we're going to do one more for health. And we're going to say, okay, as part of benefits is going to be 2016 information. And then I'm simply going to press submit. Now, after I submit, it's going to be important. I still need to publish. Now, keep in mind, in this case, I didn't turn on those approvals since I did instant. So just like that, the knowledge item has been published. And now when users come in and they access that knowledge base, there is this HR section. And on top of that, when I go in and I start searching the content, and maybe I'm wondering, what is this 2016 information? You'll see that there's my icon for that knowledge base with that relevant article therein. Really great and easy to set up to create and have full control over your knowledge management with Geneva.